Hi everyone, I'm Sacha, a fourth year student at the University of Bristol Vet School, and together with my colleague Hannah, today we're going to chat about the Bristol Paws project, which is a society that we're part of at uni. You'll meet Hannah in the next few slides, but she's also a fourth year vet student. So, who are we? The Paws project is a student-led project which was founded in 2016 and is run by vet students and vet nurses from the University of Bristol Vet School. Our main aim is to support individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds, and that includes individuals without a fixed address and individuals with low income. We want to make sure they can get the best care for their pets possible. As we're not currently qualified vets and nurses, we're unable to do a lot of the medical aspect, but instead we support with food donations, coats, toys, and a friendly face to talk to. We're currently about 30 members, but this varies from year to year. But generally, we're a decently big group.
So what is it that we do? We host a vaccine drive alongside Bristol Animal Rescue Centre. We provide outreach services with Bosch, which is Bristol Outreach Services for the Homeless. We work with Streetvet to provide outreach with them. And every Christmas we work with Caring in Bristol to make up some backpacks. So, as previously mentioned, we run a vaccine drive, which is hosted with Bristol Animal Rescue Centre. And this is run over the course of one day. And the most recent vaccine drive that we hosted, there were 173 pets vaccinated, 109 of them being dogs and 64 cats. And it's in one neighbourhood in Bristol, and it's free for owners on benefit allowance. So these people are identified and offered this service. So one of the outreaches that we run is alongside Bosch, which is Bristol Outreach Services for the Homeless. And this is every Sunday morning where we supply dog food, cat food, treats, toys, coats, leads, etc. And this can also be done upon request. So we go in and ask what has been asked for and what people may need. And that we really aim to support the people, not just the pets. As there is a huge demand for these services, and there's a large footfall during the week and over the weekend, and this service is the only hub open for homeless people in Bristol over the weekend, so it's important that we are able to help where we can. And the donations that we drop off are generously provided by a local garden centre and certain companies like Kong and Green and Wilds. So this also really helps us.
Hi again, this is Sacha. So Streetvet is kind of where I come in. I joined Streetvet in 2020 as a support volunteer, and this was before I joined vet school. And when I joined vet school, I wanted to try and bridge the gap between the outreaches that Paws were doing and the outreach that Streetvet was doing. So what we did is that on every first Saturday of the month, we set up an outreach station next to Streetvet in the park, and we sort of supply toys, foods and coats and jumpers to owners and their patients so that Streetvet on that day don't have to bring those materials. We're also a friendly face to talk to, and sometimes when outreaches get really busy, we're sort of there to manage patients and clients before they get seen. So we've been told by the vets and the nurses that that's actually really helpful, because most times it'll be quiet, but oftentimes when there's a lot of people, the vets and the nurses, they don't have the capacity to ask people to stay in line or ask people to wait or chat with them before they're seen and get some basic history from them. So that's sort of what we do. Another thing we do also with Streetvet is we run a continuity of care scheme. So every month we have a rounds meeting online on Teams where we discuss the cases that were seen the previous month. This is really helpful as it allows the whole Streetvet team to get on the same page about everybody that's been seen and things that need to be actioned. So if something's really important and needs to be actioned, then we'll send a message to the central team in London and just make sure that things get done. The Christmas Backpacks is another event that we do every year at Paws, where we hand out backpacks filled with goodies like food, toys and treats during Christmas time. We're very lucky that we're able to get great donations every year from companies like Kong Toys, Jollies and Hem and Boo, which help us bulk up the backpacks and make them as fun as possible. We then donate the backpacks to Bosch, which is Bristol Outreach for the Homeless, and to Caring in Bristol. This is done around Christmas time, where they then host events on and around Christmas Day for anyone in need. this year we were able to supply around 50 backpacks, which were all gone at the end of the event, which hopefully means that a few pets were able to enjoy new Christmas toys. It's also important for us to make sure that everyone gets a chance of having a lovely Christmas, regardless of their background. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed our small presentation about what the Bristol Paws Project does at Bristol. If you have any questions, you can email us at thebristolpawsproject@gmail.com, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. I'm now going to go on to talk about Streetvet and what they do as a charity, so please stay tuned. I'm going to spend the rest of this session just chatting about what Streetvet does as a charity and how they've been able to help so many pets across the UK in the last few years. So what is Streetvet? Streetvet started as 2 vets in a backpack in 2016. Interestingly, 2 vets were doing this on separate occasions without actually knowing about each other. They became a registered charity in England and Wales in 2019 and a Scottish charity in 2023. Currently, we have an army of about 600 vet volunteers, which outreach in 23 locations across the UK. So for me, for example, I'm part of the Bristol team. Streetvet is also an RCVS registered practice, which means that anything that can be done in a practice can be done with Streetvet. Essentially, Streetvet swaps the practice for the pavement, and what that means is that anything that can be done in a consulting room, Streetvet can do on the streets. In short, Streetvet's purpose is to protect the human and animal bond. It's to ensure that patients we see and clients we see are able to stay together and aren't hindered by the medical needs of their pet. So Streetvet's mission. Streetvet's mission is to provide free vet care for the pets of those experiencing homelessness. Homelessness can come in all variety of shapes and sizes, and it doesn't have to be someone who's living on the streets. It can be someone who's couch surfing or someone who doesn't have a fixed address. The second mission is also to protect the human and animal bond, and keeping pets and their owners together wherever possible. So, what does Streetvet do? So we can provide free accessible vet care on the streets. So like I said, anything that's done in a consulting room can be done with Streetvet. We fund surgery and hospitalisation if required. So if a patient needs to go into practice to be spayed or neutered, or for example have an ear flush, we can book them in. We fund transportation to vet practices if the patient or client have mobility issues. And we fund emergency boarding in specific situations, for example an owner being hospitalised or going into rehab. This is to ensure that the pet and owner aren't separated and can find their way back to each other. We also provide essentials such as food, coats, muzzles, toys. And there's a 24-hour emergency free phone number. We also work with hostels to enable them to accept pets. We do this with the Streetvet accredited hostel scheme. A lot of hostels currently don't accept pets, and it's quite hard for homeless people to find a place to stay if they can't bring their pet, and they often choose to stay on the street or stay homeless. We also provide opportunities for veterinary professionals to volunteer in the UK, and we enhance the public's perception of veterinary profession. How do Streetvet outreaches work? So we do regular outreach stations, some weekly, fortnightly or monthly. So for example, Bristol, where I work, we do it every first and second Saturday of the month. Some places do it weekly. We also do regular hostels and day centre visits. We can do mobile outreaches, so this is where a vet walks around with a backpack in town and speaks to owners and their pets. Owners can also be referred by local partners such as the police, RSPCA, hostels, and we provide out of area support in conjunction with local vet practices. We can break down Streetvet's performance in order to understand what the demand is. Since its inception, we've performed over 10,000 consults, provided care for over 2,500 patients, which are not all dogs. We have patients that are cats, rabbits, guinea pigs, bearded dragons, and a tortoise. We've seen around a 300% increase in demand for Streetvet services since the cost of living crisis began. And we're working with approximately 60 more hostels to onboard them to the Streetvet accredited hostel scheme. So if you can see on the little diagram here, we've got around 2,307 consultations just in 2023 alone, 493 outreaches, and 76 Streetvet accredited hostels. So it really shows how much the increase for Streetvet has been and how much more people need help nowadays. Streetvet always gets asked 3 main questions. The first one is, why do those experiencing homelessness have a pet? So why do people in the UK experiencing homelessness have pets? The reasons aren't always as straightforward as they seem. A lot of the times it's due to companionship. It's having a presence with you there in the evenings and the day that gives you a sense of purpose. It's loyalty, someone that will never leave your side. It's a connection. Often these connections are formed years before the person becomes homeless. And it's a sense of purpose and responsibility. It's also warmth, and it's also safety. So we've got a couple of testimonies from individuals who have patients with Streetvet. So here's JP talking about Bullseye, and he looks after him, and Bullseye looks after him. Unconditional love, and a reason to live. So in the previous slide I talked about connection, and this leads us on to the second question that we often get asked, and that's, where do the dogs come from? So for example, top right we have Buster Puccini, who's bought when things were going well in the owner's life, but their circumstances changed and they became homeless. Bottom right we have Spy. The owner had a dairy farm, lost it, and ended up in the streets. Top left we have Belle. Her owner fished her out of a canal in a plastic bag. And bottom left we have Bullseye that I just talked about, who originally belonged to the owner's son, who sadly passed away. Bullseye is now the only connection JP has to his son. In the middle we have Bailey, a cheeky chappie. Owner Andy bought him for £12 on the last day he left prison. The significance of it being that it was the last day and Bailey's owner has never reoffended since owning Bailey. So I think it's important to note that these pets were not necessarily bought after the owners became homeless, and often they were bought before, but they're a companionship and they're important and they're part of the family of these people. The third and last question we often get asked is, are they good owners? I think there's a misconception that thinks that pets owned by homeless individuals are not happy, are uncared for, and are mistreated. But a study was done in 2016 that found no significant difference in the health of dogs owned by people in secure housing than what we see at Streetvet. In fact, the pets are less likely to be obese, are less likely to suffer from separation anxiety as they're able to be with their owners all day, and are more likely to be happy, healthy, and mentally stimulated. I wanted to share a quick video that Streetvet has made to show the impact that Streetvet has had on the patients and clients' populations.
It was just having another heartbeat on my side, you know. It was like, just the focus of my life, and he just became everything.
Anything that you can do in a consult room, we can do on the streets as well.
For us, it's all about creating best practice for looking after people and their pets on the street. I'm just a person helping an animal and in turn helping their human.
They don't just save the animal, they save the owner too. And I can never say thank you enough for that.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and I really hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email us at info@streetvet.org.uk, where hopefully we can answer any of your questions. Thank you.